Yes, now we still on why people should be interested in other religions. We still checking religions, we still explaining the religions. Now let's go on. If religion is the expression of mankind beliefs and in reverence for superhuman power recognized as the creator and governor of the universe, as one dictionary stated, then surely the question should be, is my religion good enough for the creator and the governor of the universe? Also, in that case, the creator would have the right to establish what is acceptable contact worship, doctrine, and what is not. To do that, he must reveal his will to mankind. That revelation must be easily available and accessible to all. Furthermore, this his revelation, even though provided centuries apart, should always be harmonious and constant. This presents a challenge to each person to examine the evidence and prove for oneself what the acceptable will of God is. One of the most ancient books claiming inspiration by God is the Bible. It is also the most widely circulated and translated book in all history. Nearly 2,000 years, and one of its writers started quit being fashioned after this system of things, but the transformed by making your mind over, and that you may prove to yourself the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Romans 12, verse 2. What would it be the source of such a proof? The same writer stated, all scriptures is inspired of God, beneficial for teachings, for reproving, for setting things straight, for disciplining in righteousness, and that the man of God may be fully competent, completely equipped for every good work. Therefore, the inspired Bible should serve as a reliable measuring rod for true, acceptable worship. Timothy 2, chapter 3, 16 and 17. The oldest portion of the Bible predates all of the world other religious writings. The Torah, or the first five books of the Bible, the law written under inspiration by Moses, dates back to the 15th and 16th century BCE. By comparison, the Hundis rites of the Rig Veda, collection of hymns, were complete about 900 BCE and do not claim divine inspiration. The Buddhist canon of the three baskets date back to the 5th century BCE. The Quran claimed to have been transmitted from God through the angel Gabriel, is produced of the 7th century CE. The Book of Mormon, reportedly given to be Joseph Smith in the United States by an angel called Moroni, is a product of the 19th century. Some of these works are divinely inspired, as some assert. Then what they offer in terms of religion guidance should not contradict the teachings of the Bible, which is the original inspired source. They should also answer some of mankind's most intriguing questions. Questions that really require answers. Does the Bible teach what the majority of religious teaching, what many people believe, namely, what humans have an immortal soul, and that as death is moved on to other realm, the hereafter, heaven, hell, or purgatory, or that it returns to reincarnation? Does the Bible teach that the sovereign Lord of universe, does the Bible teach us about the God of universe? Those are the required questions. Universe is nameless. Does it teach that he is one God, or three persons in one God, or how many gods? Those are the required questions. What does the Bible say? Was God original purpose in creating mankind for life on earth? Does the Bible teach that the earth will be destroyed? Or does it point only to an end or conclusion for corrupt world system? How can inner peace and salvation really be achieved? Each religion has different answers. But in our search for the pure religion, we should eventually reach the conclusion that God wants us to reach. If you check James chapter 1 to 27, this one is the King James book. Why can we say that? Because our basic principles will be let God be found true. Though every man be found a liar, even as it is written, what you might be proved righteous in your ways might win when you are being judged. Romans 3 verse 4. Now that we have basis of examining the world religions, let us turn to mankind's daily quest for spirituality. What does we know about how religion began? What patterns of worship were established among the ancient and perhaps primitive peoples? If you are interested in an immediate Bible answer to these questions, we recommend that you check the following text. If you check Genesis 1:26, Ezekiel 18:4, Leviticus 24:17, and Matthew 10-28, Deuteronomy 6:4 and 1, Corinthians 8 and 4 and 6, and Genesis 1:27-8, Revelation 21, 1-4, Ecclesiastes 1-4, and Matthew 24-3. You can also go to 7 and 8, and John 3:16 and 17, Philippians 25:11 and 4-6, and Hebrews 5 and 9. Now we are on chapter 2. Religion, how did it begin? Remember, on chapter 1, we said, why should we be more interested in other religions? If we have read, if we have questioned, if we have heard, and they give us all the platforms, they give us the information, give us everything. Here on chapter 2, it says, how did religion begin? The history of religion is as old as history of man himself. That is what archaeologists and anthropologists tell us, even among the most primitive, that it so say undeveloped civilization, there is a found evidence of worship Samophor. In the fact, the new Encyclopedia Britannica says that as far as scholars have discovered, there has never existed any people anywhere at any time who were not some sense religious. Besides its antiquity, religion also exists in great variety. The head hunters in the jungles of Borneo, Eskimos in the frozen Arctic, and the nomads in the Sahara Desert, the urban dwellers in the great metropolises of the world. Every people and every nation on earth has its God or gods, its way of worship. The diversity religious is truly staggering. Logically, questions came to mind. From where did all this religion come? Since there are marked differences as well as similarities among them, did they start independently, or could they have developed from one source? In fact, we might ask, why did religion begin at all, and how the answers to these questions are of vital. I mean, if you can repeat it here, it says every people and every nation on earth has its own God or gods and its way of worship. The diversity religion is truly staggering, staggering, as you can see, and how this religion began and how this religion be formed. Because every person has its own God and has its own gods and the way of doing worship. Then who has started the religion? Importance to all who are interested in finding the truth about religion and religious belief. Question of origin. When it comes to the question of origin, people of different religion think names such as Muhammad, the Buddha, Confucius, and Jesus is almost very religion. We can find central figure to whom credit is given for establishing the true faith. Some of these were iconoclastic reformers. Others were moralistic philosophers. Still others are selfless flock heroes. Many of them have left behind writings or saying that they formed the basis of a new religion. In time, what they said and did what established, elaborated, embellished, and given a mystic aura. Some of these leaders were even defied. Even though these individuals are considered founders of the most religions, that we are familiar with. It must be noted that they did not actually originate religion. In most cases, their teachings grow up of existent religious ideas. Even though most of these founders claim divine inspiration of their source, or they changed and they modified an existing religious system, had become unsatisfactory in one way or other. For example, as accurately history can tell us, the Buddha had been a prince who was applied by the suffering and deplorable conditions he found surrounding him in a society dominated in Hinduism. Buddhism was the result of his search for a solution of life, agonizing problems. Similarly, Muhammad was highly disturbed by adultery and immorality he saw in the religious practices. Men such as Buddha, Confucius, and Luther changed existing religious system. They did not originate religion. He later claimed to have received a special revelation from God, which formed the Quran and became the basis of a new religious movement. Islam Protestantism grew up out of Catholicism as a result of Reformation that began in the early 16th century, when Martin Luther protested as the state of indulgence by the Catholic Church at that time. Thus, as far as the religions now is existence and are concerned, there is no lack of information regarding their origin and development, their founders, their secret writings, and so on. But what about the religious exist before them and the ones even before those? If we go back far enough in history, we will soon or later be confronted with the questions: how did religion begin? Clearly, to find the answer to that question, we must look beyond the confines of individuals' religions. Many theories. The study of the origin and development of a religion is a comparatively new field for centuries. People more or less accepted the religious tradition into which they were born, in which they were brought up. Most of them were certified with the explanation handed down to them by their forefathers, feelings that their religion was the truth. There was seldom any reason to question anything, nor the need to investigate how, when, why things got started. In fact, for centuries, with limited means of travel and communication, few people were even aware of other religious systems. During the 19th century, however, the picture began to change. The fury of evolution was sweeping through intellectual circles. That, along with the advent of scientific inquiry caused many of the questions established systems, including religion. Recognizing the limitation of looking for clues within existing religion, some scholars turn to the remains of early civilizations or to the remote corners of the world where people still lived in primitive societies. They try to apply to this the methods of psychology, sociology, anthropology, so forth, hoping for discover a clue. That's how religion began and why. What was the outcome suddenly they passed upon? They seen many theories, as many as they were investigators. It seems with each investigator contradicting the other and each endeavoring to outdo the other in daring and originality. Some of these researchers arrive at important conclusions. The work of others has simply been forgotten. It is both educational and enlightening for us to get a glimpse of the result of this research. It will help us to gain a better understanding for the religious attitudes among people we met. A theory commonly called animism were proposed by English anthropologist Edward Taylor, 1832-1917. He suggested that experience such as a dream visions, hallucinations, and the lifelessness of corpses cause primitive people to conclude that the body is inhabited by a soul. Latin anima, according to his theory, since they frequently dreamed about a deceased loved ones, they assumed that a soul continued living after death, and that is left the body and dwelled in the tree, rocks, rivers, and so on. Eventually, the dead and the object the souls were said inhabit came to be worshipped as gods, and thus Taylor religion was born. Another English anthropologist, R. Marett, 1816 and 1943, proposed a refinement of animism, which we call animatism, after studying beliefs. I think for today, we can stop it here. Please continue to subscribe because there is still more to hear. I want you to go through and through page by page with me so that you may understand where this has begun. Invite your fellow Christians, invite your fellow Muslim, invite your fellow Catholics. We are living in the world, a world where things are happening. So it's time for revelation now. Don't forget to subscribe.